Hello and welcome everyone to the Polity Primer series of Drishti IAS. My name is Pragya and today we are going to discuss a very important topic. So the current scenario of the suspension of MPs has brought into limelight again the topic of parliamentary democracy. Okay, so we are going to discuss what exactly is the parliamentary democracy, and we are also going to try to find an answer to a question that has India actually moved from parliamentary democracy to executive democracy. In this discussion, we are firstly going to study about what is this parliamentary democracy. We are also going to see the history of parliamentary democracy in India. Then we are also going to analyze the parliamentary system of government that is present in India. Then we are also going to see the issues faced by the Indian Parliament, and we are also going to see some of the safeguard against executive dominance or abuse, and we are also going to try to find some of the way forwards in this regard. And in the end, we'll see a practice question for your prelims examination and a practice question for your mains examination. So, if I talk about the background of our today's topic, 141 MPs have been suspended from both of the houses of the parliament as of now. So this is huge, like this is happening for the very first time in the history of the parliament, and definitely this has again stirred the debate around has parliamentary democracy being violated by the majority party. So this brings us to the moot question of our today's discussion, that what exactly is this parliamentary democracy? So executive derives its authority from the legislative branch, and this is known as the parliamentary democracy. In parliamentary democracy, what is happening is the executive is answerable to the legislative branch known as the parliament. Okay, it is accountable to the parliament and relies on its support to govern effectively. So executive cannot rule on its own, and it is definitely reliant on the support of the parliament in case of a parliamentary democracy. Okay, so most of the democracies around the world follow either the presidential democracy or the parliamentary democracy. Parliamentary So in presidential democracy, you can understand that yes, the executive is independent of the legislature, and definitely it can take its own decision. But this does not happen in the case of parliamentary democracy. In parliamentary democracy, executive has to rely for the support on the legislature wing of the parliament. Okay. So the Indian Constitution, by its very structure, facilitates and enables the marginalization of parliament and the concentration of power within a dominant executive, and we will be understanding how is this possible in our further slides. But let us understand first that what is the history of parliamentary democracy in India. So in 1885, the Indian National Congress Party demanded that we should have elected representatives to be a part of the British administration, which finally led to the establishment of a parliamentary democracy. Why? Because at that point of time when we were ruled by the Britishers, we did not want ourselves to be subservient to the Britishers' rule. We wanted our own men to be included in the British administration, and we were definitely fighting for that. And that led to the birth of the parliamentary democracy in India. The number of Indians employed by the British administration grew over time. In the Indian Parliament, a parliamentary representative represents the interests and aspirations of the people in their constituency, also known as the Lok Sabha. So what is exactly is the Lok Sabha? Lok Sabha is the will of the people, is the aspiration of the people that is being represented by the member of the Lok Sabha who has been elected by the people itself. So definitely parliamentary democracy, in parliamentary democracy, it is important that the will of the people, the aspirations of the people are being represented at the floor of the house. Okay, so this was the history of the parliamentary democracy. Because we were being governed by the British administration, we wanted our own people to actually be in the administration, so that they can put forward our grievances, our interests, our needs effectively in front of the British administration, and that led to the birth of parliamentary democracy in India. Moving forward, let us understand what is the parliamentary system of governance that we are being following. Okay, so various democracies around the globe have two forms of government, that is known as the presidential form. Example, USA, most prominent example. And then there is the parliamentary form of government. Parliamentary form of the government, okay, in which PM is the supreme, or the PM, it is governed by the Prime Minister as the head, okay. So the system of governance in democracy can either be presidential or parliamentary, as I have explained. Presidential democracy, USA; parliamentary democracy, UK, India, okay. Indian democracy follows the parliamentary system of governance, and let me know in the comment box below on which model we have based our parliamentary form of governance, okay. Article 75, 4 and 75 deal with the parliamentary system at the center, and Articles 163 and 164 deal with the parliamentary form of government in the states. Moving forward, the parliamentary system of government is the one in which the executive is responsible to the legislature for its policies and acts, and we have seen this, we have understood it in our previous slides as well, that in presidential system the executive is a completely independent chamber, but in parliamentary form of governance, executive is dependent upon the support of the legislature, and legislature is known as the parliament, and that is why we have the cabinet ministers and other ministers. Okay, so these cabinet ministers are a form of the executive in the house, okay, and other ministers form the other legislators in the house. So cabinet is actually answerable to the legislatures of the house. Ivor Jennings called the parliamentary system as the cabinet system, because definitely we have cabinet ministers, so the cabinet system, because the cabinet is the nucleus of power in a parliamentary system. So this is important, that yes, cabinet is a powerful body. It is the nucleus of the power in the parliamentary system, in which the whole power is concentrated, and that is why it is very important to put a check and balance on the executive. Okay, now let us understand that what are the issues in the Indian Parliament. So I have stated before that I will be explaining that is India actually moving towards executive democracy. I have asked this question to you, and we'll try to find out an answer to the question in our further slides, okay. But first let us understand that what exactly is happening in the Indian Parliament, what are the persistent issues in the Indian Parliament, so that you can understand better that is parliamentary democracy actually being violated as of now. So let us understand the persistent issues. So the first issue is the concentration of power. In India, we have a majority party rule. Majority party rule, okay. So definitely there is a strong concentration of power in the majority party. It actually, the house of the parliament, Lok Sabha, runs according to the power of the majority party, and that is very significant. You might be hearing in the news also that yes, there is a concentration of power in the majority party, and definitely suspension of MPs, suppose suspension of opposition MPs is exercise of those powers, okay. Then this second issue is frequent adjournments. You might have heard in the news that within 5 minutes the Lok Sabha was adjourned, within 5 minutes the Rajya Sabha was adjourned. So basically these frequent adjournment definitely hampers the working of the houses and hampers the productivity of the houses, which in turn leads to anarchy, which in turn leads to abuse of power. Why? Because you are not hearing the opposition, you are not allowing the opposition to speak. So this is what is currently happening, okay. Then there is frequent abuse of power. Don't you think that the present suspension of MPs is abuse of power? How can you decide that you will suspend those MPs just because you do not want to answer the questions? And I'm not saying so, this is being said by the opposition leaders, that yes, this is happening because they don't want to answer. For example, on the Manipur issue also, the Home Minister did not want to answer. And then on the recent issue of the parliamentary security breach that has happened in the Lok Sabha, the members were just demanding that come on the floor of the house and answer our questions. And that is the way how a democracy should work. Okay, but this is not happening. They have been suspended on their unruly behavior. So opposition members also carry the will of the people. They are also being elected by the people. So if the executive is not answerable to the people, how will we put checks and balances on the executive? So these are the pertinent issues in the Indian Parliament, and we saw these issues in the inauguration of the new Parliament building as well, when the president was excluded, when the sentinel was placed. So what is all of this? This is frequent abuse of power by the majority party. Okay, now let us understand some of the safeguards in this regard. Okay, so the first safeguard is the intra-party dissent. What is this intra-party dissent? A voice of dissent within your own party. So what happens is, there are cabinet ministers, and then there are other ministers as well. Okay, and then there are opposition members. So what is this intra-party dissent? That these other ministers, they might be of the majority party, but they are not included in the cabinet. So sometimes what happens is, they dissent from their own party, and they team up with the opposition to voice their dissent. So this is known as the intra-party dissent, and it forms an important check and balance on the executive. Then the opposition is granted certain rights in the parliament to hold the executive accountable, definitely, because I have stated that opposition also is elected by the people. They have also won the Lok Sabha elections, and that is why they are sitting in the Lok Sabha. So how can you deny their rights? How can you say that you cannot question us, we are unquestionable? No, you will have to come to the floor of the house and answer important questions, because that questions is being asked on the, because those questions is being asked on the behalf of the people to you. So definitely it is an important check and balance to hold the people to hold the executive accountable. Then a speaker should be there. A neutral and independent authority represents the interest of the parliament against the executive. Okay, then there is bicameral legislature. We have a upper system of upper house and the lower house, and definitely this system also puts a check on the power of the executive, because if you will do some arbitrary action in the Lok Sabha, definitely the Rajya Sabha is going to question you. So this form of upper house lower house system, also known as bicameralism, is an important check and balance in the executive. But let me explain to you how is this being diluted day by day. So if you talk about the intra-party dissent, this has almost been diluted by the 10th schedule. How, you will ask me, ma'am, how is the 10th schedule responsible for dilution? Because 10th schedule was enacted to curb horse trading. So apart from curbing horse trading, which is in which it has not been successful, it is doing almost everything. You know the concept of whip that is appointed by the majority party. Whenever there is a passage of important bill, you cannot dissent against your own party, otherwise you can be subjected to defection. So the 10th schedule effectively strengthens the majority party hand on the intra-party dissent. Then if you talk about the opposition do not have any constitutional power. They do not have any specific constitutional power, and that is why we say that opposition as of now is very weak in India. So if you are not giving them any constitutional power, and you are going on suspending the opposition MPs just because their behavior was unruly, or just because you did not want to answer the question, definitely this can be diluted. That is why we say that we should have a very strong opposition in India. Then speaker in India is not an independent body. Okay, speaker does not has a power to quit the political party. In fact, he is the member of the political party. He is elected by the majority of the persons who have been elected in the Lok Sabha. So definitely he has his own political biases involved. And if you talk about the bicameral legislation in India, Rajya Sabha is almost powerless. For example, if there is an important bill, the speaker will classify it as an money bill. What will the Rajya Sabha do? Rajya Sabha does not have any powers in regard with the money bill. And we saw this happening in the Aadhaar Act. Then what will you do in the ordinance making power? Ordinance making power is being used as a normal law making power as of now. So this is how slowly and slowly these safeguards are being diluted day by day. Now let us understand what can be some of the way forwards to put checks and balances on the power of the executive as of now. Okay, so give opposition specific constitutional powers. Definitely opposition does have a voice. Okay, it is also representing the will of the people, as I have explained to you. So give it important constitutional status so that you cannot use your arbitrary power on the opposition. Then speaker should definitely be independent, and we have seen in the anti-defection cases as well, Supreme Court has time and again said that yes, speaker should be an independent body, speaker should be impartial, speaker should be unbiased, the speaker should be free from his own political biases. But so it is very important that once you select a speaker, he should completely switch his party, he should completely switch his political party, as happens in the other countries as well. So yes, there is a stringent need to make a speaker as an independent institution. Then put a check on arbitrary use of power. You will have to hold executive accountable. Okay, then you should definitely put a check on the Lok Sabha rules. You should definitely put a check on the arbitrary use of the rules of business of the Lok Sabha. Just because someone is standing in the parliament and asking you questions, you cannot say that behavior is unruly. Okay, so the opposition should also ask the questions in a proper manner, and definitely this is an important check on the executive power. So with this we come to a conclusion of our today's discussion. We have seen what is a parliamentary democracy. We have also seen what is the parliamentary form of government. We have also analyzed what are the current issues that are going on in the Indian parliament. We have also seen that what are the safeguards available and how they are slowly being diluted. We have also seen some of the way forwards in this regard. And I would like to conclude that yes, so kindly let me know in the comment box below, what do you think? Is India slowly moving towards executive democracy from a parliament democracy? Let me know in the comment box below. Okay, now let us see a practice question for your prelims examination. So the question is, consider the following statements. Your statement number 1 is India follows the parliamentary form of government. Your statement number 2 is it is based on the British Westminster form of government. Then your statement number 3 is Article 74 and 75 deal with the parliamentary system at the center. Which of the following statements given above are correct? Your options are option A is 1 and 2 only, option B is 2 and 3 only, option C is 1 and 3 only, and option D is 1, 2 and 3. Kindly let me know in the comment box below. Now let us discuss a practice question for your mains examination. So the question is, discuss the historical and cultural factors that have earned India the title of Mother of Democracy. How have these factors shaped India's parliamentary democracy? So firstly, you will write what is the parliamentary democracy. Then you will explain the Gram Sabha, Gram Samitis. Then you will explain that how in ancient times we used to have effective platforms for democracy. So you can explain all of this, and you will say that yes, India has rightfully earned the title of mother of all democracies, and definitely there is a need to protect our parliamentary democracy. And you will write that how these processes, like what happened in the Gram Sabha, Gram Samiti, the Jatakas, okay, then there were Mahajanpads, okay. So these all have shaped the parliamentary democracy today. So you will write, and you will also write the history of parliamentary democracy in India, that how in 1885 the Indian National Congress wanted their own people in the British administration so that they could be heard, their needs could be heard. They too have a voice in the British administration, and then you can say that yes, India definitely is the mother of all democracies, and we should uphold the spirit of the democracy in India. You can conclude very holistically. I hope this session was insightful for you. If you have any feedback regarding this session, kindly drop it in the comment box below. If you liked today's discussion and found it to be helpful, kindly like the video and subscribe to our channel for more such updates. Thank you.